Excellent.
Cool.
Okay.
Moji asks, are you a manufacturer?
So, actually, we get this question a lot. We are not a manufacturer, but often people are wondering, like, how do I know all this information? So what we do here at Shift Fashion Group is we work with either established brands and we help them pivot into categories they've never created products in before, or we help them level up their quality control, their manufacturing, find them new fabrics, new regions to manufacture in, or we work with a lot of influencers and celebrities who want to launch brands. So we'll help them figure out who their target demo is, create the brand's identity with them. We will go through packaging, product design, collection planning, launch planning, SKUs, inventory, logistics, obviously manufacturing the goods with partner factories that we have. And then, we do freight, and then I own a 3PL as well. So then we'll do the end-to-end customer shipping. So it's really like a full turnkey kind of product that we offer here. But when it comes to are we a manufacturer again, we are not, but we've worked with a lot of different manufacturers who are in our network, and we work very hand in hand with our partners to create exactly the products we want for our customers, rather than just slotting them into random factories, which a lot of companies do, unfortunately. So in other words, if you are a brand that wants to kind of level up their manufacturing or pivot into a new category, you can head over to our website at shiftfashiongroup.com. We are very selective who we ultimately end up working with. What we really like to do is find brands who have an audience that we can supercharge them with our manufacturing and logistics expertise to really create something really special.
I Live Dehydrated 7337 asks, gotta do represent. Also question, what's the best wash to increase the overall quality of 50/50 450 GSM polycotton fleece?
Represent is definitely coming soon, but when it comes to improving the quality of your 50/50 450 GSM fleece, it really depends on what you mean by quality, because being in the fashion industry for so long, everybody actually has a different meaning by what they mean when they say quality. Some people mean, I want it to be softer, I want it to be stiffer, I want it to be thicker. So it's going to be really subjective. But what I say quality is going to be how long is it going to last. But if you're trying to improve something that is already pretty poor quality, what I would say is look for different fibers and look for a different fabric to start from. That's going to be the best bet to create a higher quality item long term. Because at the end of the day, you can polish shit all you want, but it's still going to be shit. If you mean quality as in hand feel, you can add silicone washes. You can add enzyme washes. You can use other softening washes to make it feel softer. If you want it to feel more plush, you can have it napped more and adjust the blade height for how thick you ultimately want that pile on the back to be. Another thing you can do with existing fabric to improve the quality for your end user is going to be to pre-shrink it. By pre-shrinking it, you're going to tighten up those fibers. You're going to remove a lot of the lint that would have come off onto your customer as well. So the initial experience from your customer is going to be better. But again, ultimately, if you want a higher quality fabric and you actually want something that your current fabric is not meeting, it's much better to start off fresh and find that fabric that meets all of your wants and desires as a brand, rather than trying to turn an existing fabric into something that's ultimately not.
Sailor Moon Crunch asks, have you ever fired a client?
Have we ever fired a client? Yes, we have. What we do here is we take brands and we help them get to the next level and help them scale by lending all of our expertise and our experience so that they can kind of like leap forward a few years in terms of their quality control, their manufacturing, the product offerings. So what ends up happening is not every single brand is going to fit into that system perfectly. And I think for any business that's good at what they do, this is also very important. You work with clients that fit into the mold that you've created so that they can maximize the benefit that you're providing them as a service. For those clients who can't extract the most benefit out of that relationship, sometimes they're better off served by smaller companies or just one-person companies that are better suited for that scale and that size of a business. So I would say for any service-based business, don't be afraid to fire a client if it's not right for both parties. Because oftentimes, most of our clients that we fired, a lot of them come back once they've scaled enough that they can extract the maximum benefit from what we provide them. So ultimately, have we ever fired clients? Yes, but it's always been amicable and our doors are always open whenever they scale large enough where they can reap the most benefits from working with us.
Miss_T_TR asks, do you check employees' working conditions, etc.?
Yes, that's actually one of the first things we always do, or at least for our clientele. Our clientele are not companies that are trying to move volume and get products for really, really cheap. Companies come to us to build really high quality products. So they're able to pay factories that pay fair wages. So depending on the client and depending on the region, we'll have to see if the factories have BSCI certifications, SEDEX, or RAP certifications. We always include social compliance in all of our third-party factory audits as well. Ultimately, there's so many different factories to work with in this world that why risk working with a factory that has poor working conditions, because that probably will say a lot about the product they're going to ultimately output. If you want good quality products, and all the products we try to ship, we use AQL 2.5, whereas industry standards 4.0. You need workers that are happy to do what they're doing. You need workers that are focused. You need management that is focused as well. And you need a system that the entire factory's goal is outputting products that are quality goods. And when you have poor working conditions, I just don't see often where those two demands can be met at the same time of having poor working conditions and high quality products. So yes, we always check for working conditions, and ultimately you need to do that if you want high quality products.
So a little bit of a long comment, but Sway3546 asks, here's what I want to know. I used to work at Zora. The winter jackets with a fake fur type of stuff before 2020 used to never shed. You could wear it with black and it was no problem. Now if you do that, your shirt's gonna be ruined with that crap all over you. What changed in the manufacturing process and what materials were chosen? Also, why would they do this? Because it super sucks.
This happens all the time in the fashion industry. Unfortunately, when it comes to fashion, every single brand is always asking their factories to make products for cheaper. And what ends up happening, I can tell you exactly what happened with these Sherpa items and the fake fur items, is the brand went to the factory and said, we need this cheaper. The factory then went to their suppliers and said, we need to make this cheaper. And then what ends up happening is substitutions start happening, whether it's in the raw material or just even the base fabric, the Sherpa fabric itself. And everything gets lower because the brand's not often asking, how are you making it cheaper? They just want it cheaper. So it becomes this cat and mouse game of make it cheaper, and then the factory finds a cheaper alternative that's still passable and the brand doesn't notice. And then the brand accepts that and they sell that to their customer. And then that stays like that for a few years or a few months. And then the brand again asks the factory to make it cheaper. So then they have to keep going. And this cycle just kind of repeats till we get to a point that's the breaking point. And the breaking point of what you're actually mentioning right now is that everything's starting to come off. And now consumers are well aware of the poor quality of the product. And then as a brand, you either pivot from that point and you return to quality, or you end up outputting all this because every other brand that's selling the similar product have also done the same thing of squeezing their suppliers to create a shitty product. So all the products that with a fake fur out there is all shitty in the exact same way. So consumers just accept that as fact. And it's wild because this happens all the time in the fashion industry. I love it when I see brands take that pivot to now say, hey, enough is enough, and we're gonna increase better quality products. But that is exactly how that happens in the fashion industry. If you guys wanna see more of these type of videos and more on what goes on behind the scenes in fashion, don't forget to subscribe and check out these videos.